News Talk 610 AM and 102.1 FM. KBNU.
KBNU News Time is 4:05. I'm Bill Walter with this news update brought to you by Mount Logan Laundry. We need to do better paying attention to pedestrians walking in crosswalks. The message from Logan City Police last Tuesday afternoon during a crosswalk sting at 400 East 1000 North. In the last 6 weeks, police have responded to 5 personal injury accidents where a pedestrian was hit while walking in a crosswalk. 2 of those calls occurred on the same day. Logan City Police Assistant Chief Jeff Simmons said the problem appears to be the motorists are not paying attention. They are disregarding crosswalk signs and not yielding to people as they cross the street.
This is why we do those crosswalk stings, is to promote safety, to educate people. We advertise it widely so that people will understand and know that this is going on, but more for education. It's not about tickets or warnings, although we do. We do issue a lot of warnings and some citations during these stings, but it's more about getting people to understand that they have to yield to pedestrians and crosswalks.
The operation involved 2 plainclothes officers that took turns crossing 1000 North in the school crosswalk. As they crossed the street, nearby spotters recorded traffic flow, watching for vehicles that failed to yield the right-of-way to the pedestrians. Those that did not stop properly were pulled over by waiting officers. During the 4 hours, officers conducted 116 stops. Simmons said that police believe a lot of motorists get into autopilot mode while they're driving and are not alert. Others, though, seem to have forgotten what the laws are.
I mean, I see it personally. I walk my dog around the area here, and you have to actually walk out into the street for people to stop for you. Others do. Some people do very well, but then there are others who just completely either don't understand or just blow through there. And if you're not careful, you can get hurt.
Officers said they are hopeful that as temperatures warm up and more people go outside, the recent spike in auto pedestrian accidents will also not go up. They expressed gratitude for the public's attention and support keeping the community safe. KBNU News Time is 4:07. KBNU weather for tonight. We do have a wind advisory in effect from 6 o'clock this evening to 6 o'clock Tuesday evening for the Utah portion of the Cache Valley. For the Idaho portion of the Cache Valley and large area of southeastern Idaho, a high wind warning in effect until 6 p.m. on Tuesday night. For the Utah side, rain showers likely, then rain showers and a chance of snow showers after midnight. Little or no accumulation, low in the low 30s. Southwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, increasing to 25 to 35 out of the northwest, with gusts to around 50 miles per hour around midnight tonight, then decreasing to 15 to 25 during the overnight hours. Chance of precipitation 70%. Slight chance of snow showers Tuesday morning with winds 15 to 25 during the day tomorrow. Partly sunny, cooler, high temperature in the mid-40s. It's been to 54. It's 48 right now. KBNU weather brought to you by Cache Valley Hearing and Audiology. Cache Valley's most trusted name in hearing aid technology. Call 753-HEAR. 753 here.
Have you pulled your spring sheets out of storage, and do they smell stale and need freshening up? How about your blankets and your quilts? Are things dingy from winter use? Well, go to Mount Logan Laundry. It takes no time at all to freshen everything up with their 55 and 80-pound washers and dryers, and it costs a lot less than the dry cleaners, and free Wi-Fi and drop-off service, too. Mount Logan Laundry really is the cleanest spot in town. Find them at 5th East and 9th North in Logan, or in Brigham City on the corner of 1st East and 7th South.
KBNU News Time is 4:09. The state delegates of Cache and Box Elder counties are hosting a meet and greet with candidates for Utah's 1st congressional district and Utah's Senate District 1. The forum is being held at the Cache County Historic Courthouse, 199 North Main in Logan. The meet and greet begins at 6:15 p.m. on Thursday. Candidates forum will begin at 7. All 5 Republican candidates for the seat in the 1st congressional district will be in attendance, and both GOP candidates for Utah District 1 seat, Senate seat, will also be in attendance. Senator Scott Randall and businesswoman Camille Knudsen. KBNU News Time is 4:10. If you'd like more details on these and other stories, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
Hi everyone, it's Congressman Blake Moore here. My team and I have been working hard to counter Vladimir Putin's war against Ukraine and doing all we can to hold Russia accountable. I've been leveraging my position on the House Armed Services Committee to support lethal aid for Ukraine. I voted to bolster security assistance, improve our cyber capabilities to counter Russia, and support the operations of U.S. troops in Europe. But more must be done, and I am co-sponsoring legislation to impose heavier sanctions on the Russian oligarchy and banks and remove Russia from the UN Security Council. In my role as the lead Republican on the House Natural Resources Oversight and Investigation Subcommittee, I have been working on legislation to enhance American energy production. I joined my congressional colleagues in a bipartisan vote to suspend purchases of Russian oil, and I believe we must do more to impose secondary sanctions on Russian energy imports, replace Russian energy sources with American energy, and approve permits and pipelines to greenlight American exports. Our team is working hard to assist Americans and Ukrainians fleeing attacks. If we can be of help to you or someone you know, please call my Ogden office at 801-625-0107 or visit our website at blakemore.house.gov. Paid for by official funds authorized by the U.S. House of Representatives.
This is Detective Johnson from the Logan City Police Department. Scams in our community are on the rise and innocent victims are losing thousands of dollars. These scams are coming in the form of phony phone calls claiming to be from government organizations or legitimate businesses. They are also circulating on social media and emails. Almost all of these scams are asking for payment through gift cards that are almost impossible to track. No legitimate business or organization uses gift cards as currency. If you receive a scam of this nature, do not give the scammers any information and immediately call police. Remember, pause, stop, call a cop.
For the people.
We are waiting with bated breath for news from the Cash Republican Party meeting an executive committee tonight.
With Jason Williams.
And I'm really excited about this next segment. We have two guests here in studio. We're going to talk about something that we've talked about many times here on the show, but from a bit of a different angle.
Weekday afternoons from 4 till 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
Welcome to KVNU's For the People. Monday, April 4th. I'm Jason Williams. Bill Walter here in the studio as well. Bill talking in the news there about a candidate forum coming up. We're working on a few of those of our own here on the show. Haven't sent the official invite out yet because I'm waiting to put a few options into the email, but we're hoping to put something together with repeatedly with county council candidates. We have two Republican primaries playing out there in the Northeast and Southeast council seats. And, of course, as Bill mentioned, we have quite a few people, everyone and their dogs running for Congress against Representative Blake Moore. That's been kind of the trend the last several cycles here in northern Utah. We'll see how that one turns out. News today that Senator Mike Lee, it's official now. Last week it was official, but the Lieutenant Governor's elections team has officially certified the results of a signature gathering in the United States Senate race this year. Senator Mike Lee up for re-election, and recent Deseret News Hinckley Institute poll shows that he's vulnerable. Despite his time in the United States Senate, polling at just 43% approval for throughout Utah in that poll. So this has his challengers pretty excited, but it is official as of this afternoon. Both Becky Edwards and Allie Ism have qualified for the June 28th primary ballot via signature gathering. I predict Senator Mike Lee will win the caucus convention vote. The statewide state delegates there for the Utah Republican Party are big fans, so I think he'll win the delegate vote at convention easily. But he probably is a little nervous, I would guess, about this primary. So Becky Edwards, a former state lawmaker, a Republican who kind of championed a lot of education issues. Allie Ism, a former, I can't remember what she did for Governor Herbert, but she was on Governor Herbert's communication team in some way, and then left that before Governor Herbert left office. She left that job to work for the LDS Church on the communication team there for several years. And she has since left that job to run for United States Senate. So it's going to be a good primary, I think. There should be a lot of these are qualified challengers. These aren't long shots. And so there's going to be a lot of robust debate in that Senate election. And so we'll work on getting them represented here on the show as well. It goes by a lot more quickly than I ever think it will. But June 28th is that primary date. Again, if you are a registered Republican, you'll get a ballot to vote in this primary mailed to you. If you're not a registered Republican, a couple of things. It's too late for the primary to change your registration or update your registration if you're unaffiliated. So this primary is out for you at that point, but it is not too late to make sure your registration is correct and how you want it to be for the general election, which will kick off, they'll take a day or two off after June 28th, and then that general election will begin. So it's going to be interesting, and I like that everybody has a lot of choices. So stay tuned for some announcements here on the show on some of these forums we'll put together. I've also been invited by three different groups to moderate forums, but I am not in a position to announce dates or times or locations on those yet. In fact, they're still kind of working those down. So there's going to be plenty of opportunity for people to get out and get to know candidates ahead of that June 28th primary. So take advantage. Coming up this, second hour, coming up on the show today at 5 o'clock, we're going to speak with a demographics and population growth expert, courtesy of the Kim C. Gardner Institute at the University of Utah in Salt Lake. This is in response to a listener's question that is a question that's popped around in my mind off and on over the years, too, as we talk about and plan for and have conversations with elected officials and city and county leaders about growth. All of this is happening because projected growth here in Cache Valley and northern Utah at large over the next 30 to 40 years is double. The population that we have now will double in the next 30 to 40 years. And a listener emailed in last week and said, how do they do this? How do they make these projections? I mean, we're planning around these projections. Every city in the state is. Every county in the state is. They're planning around these projections, but the projections, I assume, change over time. And they do. In fact, Kim C. Gardner Institute, for example, they have an internal policy to update their population growth projections and demographic change projections every 4 years. We'll talk with them in hour two about why they determined 4 years was the right time span for those projections. I would assume it's cost of the analysis and data collection. So doing it every 4 years, they get a pretty decent snapshot without missing out on too much change. But so listener emails in and said, what if, a hypothetical here, what if the projection now is that population will double here in Cache Valley, but as the population grows, maybe we get to the population growing by just 25% instead of 15% or 50% more people in the valley. And people don't like it. And it changes the character of the valley. And suddenly Cache Valley isn't such a destination for people to live and maybe work along the Wasatch Front. Maybe we find that it takes a lot longer to get public transit up here. And that keeps a lot of people living on the Wasatch Front in Brigham City and Willard instead of Cache Valley. What if we, and a bunch of hypothetical situations thrown out by this listener. And it's a really good question because really these are projections. These aren't guarantees. So there are a lot of things that could come along and change the projection for Cache Valley. Population might not double in the next 30, 40 years here in the Valley because of a lot of different factors that can come into play. And one of those might be, as the listener suggests, places get a reputation, right or wrong, because there are a few. I've had people tell me, you never want to drive through there at this time, and then I've done that, and it's not that bad. Places along, in fact, Riverdale Road is scary to a lot of people. But if you've ever been on Riverdale Road at 5 p.m, it's pretty crowded. Changing lanes or making a turn last minute is pretty difficult to do. And it's Utah, so people see your blinker and they fill the space rather than let you in. But still, the traffic keeps moving. It's not that bad. Main Street Logan, most times of the day, it's the same way. If you don't have an accident, traffic keeps flowing for the most part. It's just very crowded. Add, 75,000, 80,000 people, maybe that changes. Maybe driving here gets so ridiculous no one wants to live here. Maybe we start seeing people, because remember, most of the growth projected for Cache Valley, at least, not northern Utah entirely, but Cache Valley, most of our growth is projected to come internally. This isn't migration. This isn't people coming from off the Wasatch Front or from over in Rich County and deciding to establish. There will be some of that. But the majority of our population growth is birth. People born here and then wanting to stay here, wanting to find a job here. That's going to present a lot of different challenges, but to stick with what we'll be discussing today in Hour 2 with the Kempsey Gardner Institute, Mallory's agreed to join us and discuss exactly that question. What if that changes? What if it gets so crowded here in Cache Valley in the next 10 years that the projections for the next 30 years never manifest? What then? So it'll be interesting to talk about the possibility of that. And an interesting anecdote about this. You can actually read about this. Books have been written about this. But there was a similar situation in Los Angeles in the 1970s. They had projections of population growth. They ended up pretty close to that. Eventually, the projections were pretty accurate. But what the projections couldn't capture is changes in preference. So cities planning for all this growth that was projected, and again, did in the end manifest, the projections were correct. They built a ton of housing in anticipation of this growth. They weren't at the time dealing with the housing crisis we're dealing with here in Utah, which is just housing prices, a bubble that's, I predict, about to burst, though it probably won't trigger a recession. It's still going to burst. It's got to at a certain point. But we do have a housing shortage driving those prices up, but that also complicates issues of homelessness. You have the highest number of Utahns in history, families living in cars. It's no joke. It's bad out there. So we're building a lot of houses. We're also trying to do so in a way that accounts for this projected population growth throughout the state, not just in Cache Valley. So this anecdote, this is a real thing that happened in Los Angeles. It's a famous bench. It's a little, there was a hill at one point, but it's since been paved over and buildings built all over it. But in Los Angeles, there's this little, this crest or a bench that was a big retail space back when, outdoor strip malls were the rage. And then they started to kind of fall out of favor, and retailers didn't want to locate in these jumbled, difficult to park in retail spaces anymore. And so the city, working with some developers, arranged for the retail space to be leveled, and they built a bunch of kind of not what I'd call luxury apartments, but upper mid-range apartments. These weren't college students renting these apartments. These were for two-person families or two people and one child, or even two people and two children. These were for small, new families, people that had come out of college, gotten a decent career, and were on the cusp of well-to-do. And so they built thousands of these because the population projection said that's who's coming here. That's who's coming from other parts of the state. Again, the projections ended up being true, but what they couldn't account for is the fact that the population growth made traffic in this specific area traffic was so horrible in that area that people who did locate to these new apartments moved quickly. And then the reputation of this certain area of L.A. got so widespread, no one wanted to live there. They couldn't pay people to live in these things. The private company that managed them lowered the rate to where they were barely making a profit for monthly rent, and they still couldn't fill them. Not because the apartments weren't nice, not because people didn't like the price. It was because no one wanted to live there because traffic, as population grew, traffic had gotten so horrible, they decided they'd rather commute 40 minutes by public transit from outside the city even than have to deal with that. And so that's an example of how complex all this is and how many unknowns there are. It doesn't mean we should do nothing. A lot of people are going to hear this, I think, and say, see, we shouldn't be building apartments and townhomes and higher density housing. No, it doesn't mean that. They've got to go somewhere. That's not going to change. But where we put them and how things change it gets further complicated as the population grows. So it's not a static situation where you say, we've got X population now, it's going to double in 30 years, so we'll put a bunch of things here and a bunch of things there, and we're done, we're good. It's not like that. This is going to evolve and change as the population grows. And some areas, I'm not saying it'll happen here in Cache Valley. I doubt it'll happen. If I had to make my own projection, it won't. But it is possible that traffic gets so bad, that things get so crowded, that the quality of life changes enough because of the population here in the valley that it becomes a less preferable place to live. And then people start eyeing up other areas instead, at which point we have to grapple with that if we start seeing an exodus instead. It's just an example of how complex planning for all this is. So, again, we'll be talking about that with our friend Mallory of the Kempsey Gardner Institute at 5 o'clock today. On the other side, it's been a while since I had to do one of these, but I saw a traffic thing over the weekend coming back through the canyon from the Wasatch Front, and I just want to tell this story. It was pretty harrowing for all of us to see because of one driver's bad decision, and we'll talk about it on the other side. This is KVN News for the People.
I'm Larry Gelwigs, the getaway guru for Morris Columbus Travel and Norwegian Cruise Line. Cruising is back with free airfare for the second guest, 30% off your cruise fare, and on select cruises, the third, fourth, and fifth guests sharing your cabin sail free. Just pay the taxes. That's free air, free cruises, and 30% off. For the best travel deals on the planet, call Morris Columbus Travel.
Come on and get away, Morris Columbus.
Ah, that's better. Trade in the stresses of building a new home for relaxation. Visionary Homes Priority is giving you a stress-free building experience. Named the best home builder in northern Utah, Visionary Homes team will guide you seamlessly through the home building process. Call today, 435-228-4702, or visit visionaryhomes.com to learn more about upcoming communities in Nibley, Logan, and Smithfield. Visionary Homes, built for living, built for you.
All right, dads, let's test your knowledge. Ready? What does this sound? Some of the more experienced parents recognize it as the sound a young teenager makes when he's done something he regrets. Listen. Kind of a sad sound, isn't it? But if you recognized it, then you know exactly what to do. Listen, because that's when together you can both figure out how not to make the same mistake again.
This message from The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. I think Bill's getting sick of me ranting about this. Maybe not, but it seems to be a more frequent thing for me to take a few minutes to go on about here on the show. But Bill, yesterday I was coming back from the Ogden area, traveling through the canyon, and as we came over the summit, there was a highway patrol officer had pulled someone over there in what's known as a dry lake in the dip, and they were a bit off the road. They weren't right up against the line. They have plenty of space there now since they've redone that road to pull someone over safely. But the law is, and the common sense decision is, you still get over.
And slow down.
And slow down. So I was at first, so we were coming, we rounded the summit, we were coming down the hill, and I saw this. It was almost like this, it was beautiful. It was this choreographed look. It looked like a scene from a movie. Just everyone saw the flashing lights, saw the officer out on the emergency lane there in the northbound lanes, and they got over. They started getting over, and people were letting them in, and it was beautiful. Everybody's in this one line heading past this officer, and everyone did slow down. Probably not as much as they probably should have, but they slowed a bit at least, and so it was nice to see.
They made an effort at least.
I thought, wow, people are actually getting the message on this, and then here comes this guy. I caught it out of the corner of my eye. It was a man alone in a car, a rear-wheel drive, a loud car. We'll put it that way. One that I'm sure he spun the tires a few times to show off in a parking lot. And he's got his big, thick Oakley sunglasses on. You know who I'm talking about here. We've all seen this person. And I swear,
or somebody like him. Yeah.
He comes over. He comes over the summit with us. And I swear he must have thought, well, look at my luck. An entire with no one in it. And nothing but a cop. And we've all thought this too. Well, the cop's busy. He can't pull over two people, right? This guy decides this is his opportunity. It's one of the dumbest things I have ever seen. And so he punches it. He speeds up.
In the right lane.
In the right lane.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point, it must have just clicked in his head what an idiot he'd been, because he suddenly, I think he realizes at a certain point, oh, I get why this lane was empty.
Yeah, there's usually
I'm that
reason.
guy now. Yeah, and so he slams on his brakes, turns on his signal. Thankfully, somebody let him in, and but he had to do this just about 30, 40 yards from the officer, who was at this point out of his car talking to the person he'd pulled over. In this scenario, weather was great, roads were clear, visibility was miles, and no one was likely. The officer and the person he pulled over were way off the road. They were, there was a good 5-6 feet between that white line and the officer's car. So likely, even if the person had stayed in that lane, no one was going to be hurt.
Well, a lot of times the officers will go over to the passenger side of the car anyway.
Sure, because of people like this guy.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was at first it was funny, and then after a while I thought, who does that? Who comes over the summit and you look down that hill into Dry Lake and you see that wide open lane? Everyone's in the left lane.
You see everybody in the left lane.
And everyone's going slow, so that's probably part of what spurred him to do what he did, because he's like, everybody's going so slow and they're all in the fast lane. But you see the flashing lights. He had to see them. But yeah, for at least a few minutes, he thought to himself, look at my luck. This entire lane is empty. I'm just going to scoot around all these people hanging out in the fast lane, because we do have that problem here in Utah too. People that just kind of hang out there in the fast lane for no reason whatsoever.
And go 10 miles per hour slower.
Yeah, oblivious
traffic.
that there are 18 cars behind them trying to get past. So it's I had to tell that story, because again, at first I laughed, and then after a while I was not angry, but I was thinking, honestly, what kind of driver is this? What other? I guarantee that's not that guy's first bad decision of the day. This was late in the afternoon.
You always look for dents on the car, and
he's annoyed or put someone else at risk at least one time previous today. But yeah, just it's so there's no real takeaway from this other than, after I thought about it for a while, I thought, honestly, it comes down to that same thing you hear again and again. I think they still say this to kids in driver's ed. You're talking about the difference of minutes on your arrival time. You're talking about, I really think traffic would flow in Utah, accidents would go down, fatalities would, I would think, near disappear if people would just take a deep breath and calmly go about their drive. reminding themselves, you're talking about a minute or two's difference.
Yeah.
On your arrival time. Now, granted, there are some times when I remember when a minute or two was the difference between me being employed or not back in my college days. And so there were some times when I was, trying to get to work, and that minute or two mattered.
Yeah, because in your mind, you pictured your supervisor standing there looking at the clock.
Oh, yeah.
Saying, "Where's Jason?"
Oh, sure. And I get that. There are going to be situations where a minute or two is going to be a big deal. But generally, I would guess 90% of everyone on the roadways yesterday coming back from Ogden into Cache Valley, a minute or two was not going to make one bit of difference at all. And yet I saw some. This was the most memorable thing I saw. This guy that decides this open lane is his opportunity, not a law that everyone else is following, going around the cop there. But I saw a few other things, and it just. I really think that. I really think if everybody just took a deep breath, counted to 10, and said to themselves a couple of things. You can take this in a bunch of different directions. I say this to other drivers all the time. Even if it's just me in the car, I talk to other drivers, and one of my most frequent phrases is, look, I don't care if you're in front of me, but maintain a speed. It's one of my pet peeves. On the freeway especially. If someone's in front of you and they're going 55, then up to 75, 55, 75, I'll pass them. It annoys me.
And of course,
it also wastes fuel.
As soon as you move into the lane to pass them, then they go 75.
Yeah, they see you go to pass, and they're like, oh, I'm going 55, and they speed up to 75. I don't care. I really don't care if you're in front of me. I do not need to be first. I'm not that guy. I'm a much more reasonable person than that. But maintain your speed. At least go the speed limit, unless there are some conditions that warrant slowing down. And but yeah, just everyone take a deep breath and reminding themselves, that minute or two likely really doesn't matter. I think you'd see a lot safer roadways, and I think where the biggest benefit for all of us, I think traffic would flow better. Because if you think about some of these ridiculous things that we've all seen other drivers do, the one thing they guaranteed to cause is a slowing of traffic. Everyone has to hit their brakes when someone does something kind of dumb. Everyone has to maneuver around someone going, 5 miles under in the fast lane. These all have a tendency to slow traffic down. And so I think that's where we would all see the biggest benefit is if everyone was just kind of a little more laid back about their driving. Not laid back like the one hand on the wheel. We've seen this guy too. Right, the one hand on the wheel, windows down, seat reclined about as far as you can and still see over the dashboard. Weaving, but not because he's under the influence of anything, just because he's only got that one hand on the wheel.
And talking to somebody in the back seat.
Oh, yeah. Just, and more power to those people, but get out of the way. 753-5868. If I'm ranting about traffic, you can too. Join us here. We'll be back with more of For the People after these headlines with KVNU's Bill Walter.
Thank you, Jason. KVNU News Time is 4:38. The news is brought to you by Whole Tree Care. A top leader in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints reaffirmed the faith's opposition to same-sex marriage on Sunday at the twice-yearly General Conference. Dallin Oaks, the second highest-ranking leader of the church, said the church could not alter doctrine on marriage or traditional gender roles. He implored listeners to respect people with beliefs different than their own. Oaks' remarks reaffirmed the faith's long-held position on LGBTQ issues and come as debates rage throughout the U.S. over transgender youth and what kids should learn about when it comes to gender and sexuality. Dinosaur tracks purported to be over 100 million years old have been damaged in southeastern Utah by heavy machinery used to rebuild a boardwalk at the popular tourist area. The U.S. Bureau of Land Management, in a recently released report, says the damage at Mill Canyon Dinosaur Track site is minor, but some footprints had fractures around the rims. The agency in the report says the project should be reevaluated. The area clearly marked and work crews briefed on where they can and cannot go. The site is considered among the most important dinosaur track areas in the nation, containing tracks from at least 10 different species. And U.S. Interior Secretary Deb Haaland vowed on her first day on the job to ensure Native American tribes have opportunities to speak with her and the agencies that she oversees. Haaland has been delivering on the promise, meeting with nearly 130 tribes over the past year. Her selection as the first Native American to serve in the position opened a door for tribes who point to a history fraught with broken promises and instances where the federal government failed to take their voices into account. KVNU News Time is 4:40.
Men, sometimes women drop subtle hints like,
"Hey, honey, the weather sure is nice today."
"Yeah, I think I'll go golfing with the fellas."
Ugh, whatever.
Sometimes we just need more direct language like,
"Honey, call Whole Tree Care to trim and clean up all those gnarly shrubs and dead, twisted branches. I want to enjoy the yard this summer, not dread it."
You know, I was thinking the same thing. Call Hull Tree Care, 760-6587. Ask about their radio discount. They also do tree and stump removal. 760-6587.
KVNU weather for tonight. There is a wind advisory in effect from 6 o'clock this evening to 6 p.m. on Tuesday for the Utah portion of the Cache Valley. A high wind warning in effect for the Idaho portion of the Cache Valley until Tuesday at 6. Windy. Rain showers likely this evening, then rain showers likely and a chance of snow showers after midnight. Little or no accumulation, low in the low 30s. Southwest winds 15 to 25 miles an hour, increasing to northwest 25 to 35 miles an hour with gusts to around 50 around midnight, then decreasing to 15 to 25 miles per hour late in the overnight hours. For southeastern Idaho, wind gusts around 60 miles per hour are possible. Tomorrow, breezy, slight chance of snow showers in the morning, partly sunny, cooler, high in the mid-40s. It's been to 54. It's 45 now at KVNU. KVNU weather brought to you by U&I Furniture, stocked up with a wide inventory, lots of chairs, lots of variety. There's a good chance they have what you're looking for, and a big mattress selection featuring Therapeutic and Maloof. Always a better buy at U&I. U&I Furniture, downtown Logan, 28 West, 100 North. You can always get more details on these and other stories at CacheValleyDaily.com.
This is Raydale Gibbons bringing you the Daily Financial Markets Report on behalf of financial advisor Mike Arnold and Edward Jones for Monday, April 4th. U.S. stocks finished modestly higher today, following a flat performance last week as markets have been calmer as of late compared to the sizable swings in February and early March. There were no significant headlines or major data releases today, leaving markets to look ahead to Wednesday's release of the March Federal meeting minutes, which will garner attention as investors look for any additional detail on the Fed's plan for reducing its balance sheet. Today, the Dow Jones closed up 104 at 34,922. The NASDAQ closed up 271 points at 14,533. And the S&P 500 closed up 37 points at 4,583. In the bond market today, the 10-year Treasury yields are trading at 2.41% higher. Today, the price of crude oil was up $4.26 at $103.53, and the price of gold was up $11.70 to $1,935.40. For stocks of local interest, Autoliv closed up 5 cents at 77.04. Chevron's up 15 cents at 164.37. Dominion Energy's down 98 cents at 85.35. Home Depot's up $3.69 at 305.58. Kroger's at down 4 cents at 57.44. Lowe's is up $1.72 at 204.12. McDonald's is down $2.42 at 246.83. Microsoft's up $5.55 at $314.97. Nucor's up 26 cents at 149.52. Philip Morris is down 50 cents at 96.28. And Walmart stores closed up 3 cents at $151.04. This has been today's Financial Markets Report, brought to you on behalf of Edward Jones, a member of the SIPC, and financial advisor Mike Arnold, serving individual investors with personalized attention and financial advice, located at 135 North Main, Suite 102 in Logan, Utah. If you'd like additional information, please contact our branch office at 753-2915. Daily commentary is also located on our website at edwardjones.com.
My name is Gloria Nadal, and I chose Roof Rescue. They exceeded my expectations because they were able to follow through with the insurance company, establish a rapport, and ultimately the insurance company took responsibility and paid for my roof to be replaced. The products that they used were top-notch. My roof is beautiful. I would recommend them over and over again. My name is Gloria Nadal, and I encourage you to choose Roof Rescue.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. As the midterms draw closer, hear how Republicans are embracing the Trump agenda, even if they don't fully embrace the former president. Also, what will slow the spike in overdose deaths from fentanyl? Increased enforcement of drug laws or innovative treatment? And last-minute tax breaks for those workers who are remote. Tuesday on This Morning, America's First News. From 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM. Your station for news and talk.
Welcome back to KVN News for the People. A listener had asked about this, and I had to do some checking before I could actually answer definitively. But yes, it is still active, and they're just shy of their goal, actually, if people want to help. This was a GoFundMe setup, a tragic story back on March 29th. It was March 28th when the accident happened. It was the 29th when the names were released. But back on Monday, March 28th, two Logan High School students, 118, 114, brothers, were driving to school. And, we talked about this intersection a few times here on the show with Mayor Daines and others, but that 1800 South intersection where, a light would make sense, but it's not possible with the intersection being that close to the highway. Two brothers, 118, 114, headed to school at Logan High, both involved with school government and the soccer team and some other things. Were in an accident turning onto the road there at 1800 South. Were struck by a water truck, so a large vehicle. And at the time it was reported one brother was in a stable condition. The other, though, the driver, had undergone at that point, and I haven't heard an update since then, but at that point he'd undergone multiple emergency brain and heart surgeries to save his life. They were successful, and there were more procedures were planned. He had broken arms, wrists, hips, and his spine. So a horrible accident. His 14-year-old brother in the passenger seat was critically injured, but fared much better in recovery, was in stable condition the day after the accident. But anyway, that aside, a listener emailed in just a few minutes ago and said, is that fundraising still happening? Where's it at? How close are they? We'd reported here on the show that a GoFundMe had been set up for Curabell and Surafel Mesfin, medical assistance fundraising to help pay the medical bills there. And yes, that is still ongoing. In fact, their goal of $75,000, they are just shy of that. They're currently in that Curabell. That's spelled, by the way, Kirubel, and Surafel spelled Surafel. I'll link to this on our Facebook page, too, for those interested. But, yeah, they are just about $2,800 short of their $75,000 goal to pay the medical expenses for the recovery of both of these brothers. Just a sad, any one of us can be in this spot. So Family members released the name of the two brothers just the day after the accident, and then asked for the community's help. Logan City School District spokesperson Shauna Longhurst said the school administrators were overwhelmed by this. These were two kids well known and popular in the community. They were involved again with student government, with the soccer team. Kirabel was an avid soccer fan, and they said that it kind of rocked the whole Logan High community. So that week, multiple donation accounts were set up by relatives, friends. The soccer team there at Logan High set one up, but the kind of official one created by Kilflam was one of the family members was the Kirabel and Surafel Mesfin Medical Assistance GoFundMe. There are also two Venmo accounts that were created by Logan High School soccer team members, and where again Kirabel was one of the managers of the team, and that Venmo account, if you'd like to donate that way, was just Mesfin, MESFIN, Family Fundraiser on Venmo. So, and then the second was set up by actually Ridgeline High School soccer students, and a parent created a Venmo fundraiser as well. And then you can still make donations in person at Zions Bank. Donations to the family accepted there as well. And that's the Natalie L. Norris donation account, where you'd make donations to the family. That was set up by a family friend. So you can read about all of these and even find links to the GoFundMe and more in the CashValleyDaily.com story. I did have to, during that break there, after a listener asked, I did have to check to make sure these are all still active, as it's been a while. But yeah, these fundraisers are still active, and I don't, to the listener, Emily, I don't have an update. In fact, I don't think the family has provided an update on the health of both those affected, Kirabel and Surafel. But again, those initial reports was Surafel had fared much better. He was taken to the hospital in very serious condition, but it had his injuries were less severe. Kirabel, the driver, the 18-year-old brother, was in very serious situation. Again, after multiple brain and heart surgeries, still looking at spinal surgery, hip surgery, 2 broken arms. Just a horrible scenario. So the family and the community and all of Logan High overwhelmed by this that week. A lot of chatter on Facebook about this as well, but appreciate the listener for asking, because it's nice to be able to remind everyone that's out there. And again, the Kirabel and Surafel Mesfin Medical Assistance GoFundMe fundraiser is just a few $1,000s shy of their $75,000 goal. If someone would like to pony some up, open your wallet, and help them meet that goal to pay the medical bills from this accident, I've linked to it on our Facebook page. It's also linked in the CashValleyDaily.com story titled "Identities Released of Logan High Students Injured in Car Crash as Community Raises Money for the Family." That story at CashValleyDaily.com, and we'll be back with more of For the People right after this.
Hi everyone, Congressman Blake Moore here. I'm deeply concerned about our nation's debt crisis. The tax and spend policies from President Biden and congressional Democrats have exacerbated inflation, and our crippling national debt will directly undermine the success of the next generation. I'm committed to reversing America's debt culture so we can balance our national checkbook. To do this, I've convened a debt and deficit task force in Ogden with local experts to create a framework of solutions. On Wednesday, April 6th at 1 p.m. Mountain, I'm hosting a telephone town hall with a special guest to talk about these solutions and our vision for a better economic future. Please join us. Be sure to dial in on Wednesday, April 6th at 1 p.m. Mountain at 833-305-1678. That's 833-305-1678. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Rep. Blake Moore, and check out my website at blakemore.house.gov for more details. Paid for by official funds authorized by the U.S. House of Representatives.
Hi, this is Drew Allen with Allen Mortuaries. Over the years, thousands of families have planned ahead with Allen Mortuaries. Planning ahead helps you make informed and thoughtful decisions. It also spares your family the stress of making these decisions under the pressure of time and strong emotions. Allen Mortuaries' secure pre-need trust plan can save you nearly 40% versus other plans. Keep it simple, safe, and secure. Go with the proven choice, Allen Mortuaries. Voted best funeral home in Cache Valley in northern Utah. Allen Mortuaries. Then, now, always.
It's true, many of us spend more time thinking about what's for dinner than thinking about retirement. But if you think your retirement needs deserve more attention, we agree, and we'd like to help. We're Edward Jones. Together, we can give your long-term retirement strategy the attention it deserves. Contact your local Edward Jones financial advisor to get started today. Call 1-800-ED-JONES. Visit edwardjones.com or stop by any of the 7 Edward Jones offices in Cache Valley.
Tuesday edition, Clay Travis and Buck Sexton Show. We'll have Senator Ron Johnson of Wisconsin on with us. He's been diving into all of the Hunter Biden details, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of you with how much criminality there has been potentially by the Hunter Biden regime. Plus, Buck.
We got Monica Crowley, formerly of the Treasury Department under Trump, on where is this Biden economy going? How bad is inflation going to get? And what's it going to mean for the midterms? That and more coming up on Clay and Buck.
10 to 1 on News Talk KVNU, 102 FM and 610 AM.
Bill, I don't know if you were following this story. I caught it last week on Twitter when a Utah State Senator tweeted it out, tagging the governor in it, actually. He was angry. And I kind of understand why. It's a story that, broadly it's a story of how ridiculous our immigration laws are overall in this country. They just don't make sense sometimes. But Senator Mike McKell, Republican from the Utah County area, and I think he's been in the Senate 6-7 years now. He's been around a while. He was in the House before that. Ran for office. You might remember his name from that reason. But he's a good guy, and he's one of the more curious, willing to bite off a chunk of a pie no one else wants to touch state senators. So he's taken on some issues that are a bit thorny, and I respect lawmakers who will do that when a problem needs to be solved. So this is another one of those scenarios. He released a statement on this today clarifying. So the tweet was, this woman is stuck at the border. She's Ukrainian. She's stuck at the border. She's married to a United States citizen who lives here in Utah. She is a United States citizen. She's been denied access to her lawyer. She hasn't seen her children in weeks. And then he tagged the governor in it. He said, we got to be able to do something about this. So that caught a lot of eyeballs last Friday late Friday evening, actually, and then got a lot of chatter over the weekend. The governor didn't respond, but I'm sure there were phone calls. But he didn't respond publicly. Today, Senator Mike McKell, via the Utah State Senate communication team, released a statement clarifying what this is all about. He said, for 5 days, the Ukrainian wife of a Utah constituent has been detained at the U.S. border without access to her family or lawyer. After fleeing war-torn Ukraine, Anna Harrison, and her 10-year-old daughter, who is a U.S. citizen, tried to re-enter the U.S. Harrison's daughter was allowed entry as a U.S. citizen, but Anna continues to remain in custody. Senator Mike McKell said he released, or he tweeted in the heat of the moment. He apologized to the governor for that. But he said in the statement today, I'm extremely upset that my constituent's wife, who has fled Kharkiv, Ukraine, and is seeking humanitarian parole in the U.S., is being denied and unable to see or speak to her family or her family attorney. Anna Harrison is the wife of an Air Force veteran and has a 10-year-old daughter who is a U.S. citizen. Since Thursday, meaning last Thursday, Anna has been detained at the U.S. border. Officials have taken her cell phone and only allowed her to retain one change of clothes. She's been able to speak with her family, and her attorney is being denied access to her, both phone calls and in-person visits. Senator McKell said this mistreatment is unacceptable. The administration has declared that the U.S. will take 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. The experience Anna is going through makes me wonder how many other Ukrainians are in custody and being treated similarly. Refugees from Ukraine deserve our help and respect. Let's start by releasing Anna, the wife of an Air Force veteran and mother of a U.S. citizen, and show her and other refugees the U.S. is behind Ukraine and will help any way we can, including just letting them in. Apparently, his need to ask for that. The letter Senator McKell sent to the Department of Homeland Security and U.S. Customs and Border Control was attached to the statement today. It's a lengthy letter laying out some what Mikkel believes are legal violations being committed by Customs and Border Patrol at the U.S.-Mexico border. So, Utah State Senator angry about this situation. And again, an example of just how weird and nonsensical some of our immigration laws are here in this country, especially at that U.S.-Mexico border. Ukrainian woman, mother of a U.S. citizen, married to a U.S. Army, a U.S. veteran here in the United States, unable to talk to her lawyer or get back into the country after fleeing Ukraine. Shouldn't be that way.